Kronk's New Groove from 2005 follows Kronk, the well-meaning but often naive sidekick of Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove, as he navigates personal growth, ethical decision-making, and relational dynamics while attempting to balance ambition, loyalty, and his own moral compass. The narrative explores themes of self-discovery, ethical responsibility, relational intelligence, and the importance of personal agency, emphasizing how humor, empathy, and adaptability intersect with moral and operational competence. Kronk embodies relational insight, cognitive skill, ethical discernment, and problem-solving, while supporting characters such as his father, mentors, and allies provide guidance, challenge, and opportunities for relational and ethical growth. The story illustrates that personal development and effective agency require integrating intellect, moral awareness, and relational competence in complex social and operational environments. The plot intensifies when Kronk, faced with competing responsibilities and ethical dilemmas, is tasked with navigating challenges that test his loyalty, moral judgment, and relational skills. These challenges include managing conflicts between self-interest and ethical responsibility, balancing personal ambition with relational obligations, and resolving misunderstandings that threaten his relationships and objectives. The narrative emphasizes that heroism and personal growth emerge from integrating strategic thinking, ethical reflection, and relational intelligence, showing that effective problem-solving involves considering both immediate consequences and long-term relational and moral outcomes. Relational dynamics are central to character development and thematic depth. Kronk's interactions with mentors, friends, and family highlight the importance of empathy, communication, trust, and relational negotiation in achieving personal and operational goals. His relationships with secondary characters illustrate the interplay between moral guidance, relational support, and adaptive decision-making, demonstrating that relational competence enhances ethical awareness, cognitive flexibility, and operational effectiveness. The narrative underscores that navigating social complexity and maintaining relational harmony are crucial to ethical development and personal growth, showing that heroism involves both relational and cognitive skill. The antagonist's influence in the story is indirect but morally significant, embodied in characters or circumstances that test Kronk's loyalty, ethical clarity, and relational coordination. Challenges such as misunderstandings, misguided ambition, and ethical temptations illustrate the dangers of prioritizing self-interest over relational and moral responsibility. Kronk's navigation of these challenges demonstrates that heroism and effective agency require the integration of cognitive skill, ethical reasoning, and relational intelligence, highlighting the interconnectedness of thought, morality, and interpersonal awareness in achieving meaningful outcomes. Action, comedic sequences, and problem-solving scenarios, including Kronk's attempts to execute plans, manage unintended consequences, and reconcile interpersonal conflicts, blend cognitive strategy, ethical judgment, and relational coordination. Kronk's evolving decision-making illustrates the integration of intellect, ethical reflection, and relational insight, emphasizing that effective heroism is multidimensional. These sequences reinforce the narrative's emphasis on courage, creativity, moral reasoning, and relational competence as essential elements of personal development, operational success, and relational harmony. Psychological and ethical dimensions are explored through Kronk's journey from a compliant and sometimes morally ambiguous sidekick to an ethically aware and relationally competent individual. His growth is catalyzed by challenges that demand self-reflection, empathy, and adaptive problem-solving. The narrative highlights how relational intelligence, ethical reasoning, and cognitive skill mutually reinforce one another in the pursuit of responsible action. Through humor, reflection, and the consequences of decision-making, Kronk develops self-awareness, moral clarity, and relational competence, illustrating that heroism and personal growth are inseparable from ethical and social awareness. Themes of empowerment, relational trust, ethical responsibility, self-discovery, and personal growth are central to the story. Kronk's transformation from a supportive but morally ambiguous sidekick into a self-aware and ethically guided protagonist demonstrates the potential of integrating cognitive skill, ethical reflection, and relational intelligence. The influence of mentors and allies underscores the importance of relational guidance, collaboration, and accountability in achieving personal and operational objectives. The narrative emphasizes that true heroism and effective agency involve balancing ambition, skill, ethical responsibility, and relational engagement in complex, high-stakes, and morally nuanced scenarios. The climax integrates cognitive, ethical, and relational threads as Kronk confronts the consequences of his decisions, reconciles relational tensions, and asserts his moral agency. Resolution requires strategic foresight, ethical discernment, relational coordination, and adaptive problem-solving, demonstrating that multidimensional heroism emerges from harmonizing intellect, morality, and interpersonal competence. The narrative concludes with a synthesis of courage, relational insight, ethical clarity, and personal growth, illustrating that effective agency involves balancing individual mastery, ethical responsibility, and relational engagement to achieve meaningful and lasting outcomes. Cinematography, visual design, and musical composition enhance narrative immersion, thematic resonance, and emotional impact. Expressive character animation, vibrant environments, and comedic timing are rendered with clarity and aesthetic appeal, while musical scoring underscores relational, ethical, and emotional stakes. Technical execution supports narrative and thematic exploration, ensuring that visual and auditory spectacle complements cognitive, ethical, and relational dimensions rather than serving solely as entertainment. The integration of visual, auditory, and narrative elements underscores the multidimensional nature of heroism, ethical agency, and relational intelligence. Ultimately, Kronk's New Groove presents a narrative in which cognitive skill, ethical reasoning, relational intelligence, and adaptive action converge within morally, operationally, and relationally complex environments. The film emphasizes that mastery, heroism, and responsible agency arise from integrating intellect, moral clarity, emotional insight, and relational competence. By blending humor, ethical inquiry, psychological exploration, and relational complexity, Kronk's New Groove reinforces the appeal of protagonists who harmonize skill, morality, and relational awareness to navigate high-stakes, multifaceted, and morally nuanced scenarios, illustrating that true heroism requires the alignment of personal growth, ethical responsibility, and relational competence in transformative and socially complex contexts.